You always look good. I love that you went through the hassle of cleaning up. You've even got candles lit. You set the mood. I'm appreciating it.
Go do this. There we go. I also covered my ironing board.
Nice. How are you feeling coming up to level 14?
Oh, I'm happy to be moving along. I'm feeling, you know, it's interesting. I had strong expectations when I joined the Arcanum, and I feel like, along with all the other things I'm doing to advance in my photography, the Arcanum has really been a source of growth for me, and I'm very, very happy about it.
Good. That makes me very happy to hear too, because I feel like I've been a little absentee the last couple of weeks with everything going on here. So
no, it's perfectly fine. You're
good.
Been any problem? I've just been starting to plug away at level 15 and 16 and 17. You know?
Good. Well, I like that with Spear 1 that you guys can kind of keep moving, because they're not like goal. They kind of bleed into one another. So that's part of the nice thing about it. Okay, so you're level 14. You had to bring me some new work, and you were one of the only people that got assigned all new tasks with photos. So how was that?
And I hope that I've tried to give you just new work. A couple of things are from a few months ago, so I've brought up 8 photos instead of just 5, because I'm just concerned that 2 of them may not be new, may be things that we talked about before. But
okay.
Basically, this should be all new work from the last time we spoke, and
okay.
From the last critique, unless I forgot something. I should have gone and reviewed the other critique, but I didn't.
That's okay.
And I also have included some stuff that came out of this. I don't know if I've told you this, but I actually just finished a diploma in continuing education at Concordia University here in Montreal in what they call digital photographic imaging, which is basically 240 hours of graphic design and Photoshop.
That's a lot of Photoshop.
Yeah, so I just finished the diploma. So I've got all the skills. I just lack some practice.
Okay.
But the final assignment for this diploma was to find a musician, a local musician, or to invent one, but I found one. To find a local, I have a bunch of friends who are independent musicians here. And so I found one of them. She was thinking about putting out a new album, and the assignment was to design and produce a mock-up of a CD for her, of a CD.
Okay.
So I did the entire, I don't have the CD case with me, unfortunately. But I had to produce the CD case, front and back, and the inside for cover and so on. And I also had to produce the booklet. And so a couple of the images that I'm going to show here were produced in the last few weeks for this, which is, you know, this booklet. And the reason I'm sharing it is because I discovered in the process of doing this that I loved it.
Good. I love that tone of voice.
And I think I want to do more of this kind of thing. So I'm now teaching myself InDesign.
Nice. Okay. I like it. Maybe InDesign is Sphere 2 for you then. I'm pretty good with InDesign. My whole book, the hardcover, the whole thing was designed with InDesign. And I'm still probably only about 25% proficient with it.
This one in hardcover?
That one was not, because that one the publishing house took and rearranged everything, but the hardcover one that we did, the limited edition one, this one.
Oh, that one, yes.
Yeah, that one, all of it, every single page, the whole layout was all InDesign.
Oh, very cool.
Well, and it was really easy to work with once I got the hang of it. So, and I have a couple of friends that are gurus that helped me out every time I screwed it up, which was pretty frequently.
That's cool. Well, I'm on lynda.com right now trying to figure it out, and maybe I'll do Sphere 2 with you on it or something. We'll see.
Good. That sounds good. All right. Well, let's see what you brought. I'm excited.
All right. Let's see if I've brought it up in preview here. So I'm going to share my window, and then I'll put it in full screen. And 1 second while I go back to, I was out of here now. How do I have to remember how to share my screen.
So you just go over to the left and all the little tabs will come up, and you're looking for the little green one with the arrow.
How's that?
There you go. Perfect.
Now let me just go into that window and bring it up as full screen. There we go. So this is actually from that CD booklet. And there was a lot of red and blue in it. And oops, it's doing a scroll. Sorry about that. I guess we'll just leave it like this because I don't know how to make it not do a slideshow right now.
Okay.
So if that's okay. So let's go back to that. There we go.
Okay, so this is the musician?
Yes, her name's Kimberly Bourgeois. She has a group called Kimberly and the Dreamtime. I'm going to mention her because I promised that whenever I showed it to people, I would tell people who she was. She's extremely good. I also shot a concert of hers. With the intent was to do to include the concert in the booklet, but in the end I didn't. In the end, we did a series of shots, environmental shots like this one, portraits, and also so I did some shots of some props and so on around the area. And so this one was this is one of my favorites and also one of hers. It's in square format here because of the booklet. I have a different format, but actually I like this one better.
Okay. So I would be very interested to have you post a link to YouTube or iTunes or wherever we can listen to her music too, just to kind of see how the imagery coincides with the audio.
Yeah, the imagery was actually designed to coincide with the lyrics of her songs.
Awesome.
In fact, the songs were, one was called Hotel, and the other one was called Heartwave. And so when we were putting together the CD and talking about the way it would be handled and so on, because there was a lot of consultation, of course, with her, we decided that the name of the CD would be Heartwave Hotel.
Okay.
And so we actually named the CD in the process. And
that's awesome.
She's planning on producing it later this year if she can. She has to pull together the funding.
That's awesome.
When she does, she'll use my work as her CD cover.
Doesn't that feel great? Aren't you excited about that?
Lovely. I'm very happy about it.
Do people still buy CDs? I thought everybody bought them offline. Do they get like a download of the book when they buy the album then?
People will buy the CD. I don't know. I suppose they do. I bought her stuff on iTunes, but she actually does. A lot of artists, what they'll do is they'll have a CD produced, and when they go around doing concerts, they'll sell it, and people will buy shows.
Okay, that makes sense.
And so that's and it's a source of revenue for them for sure.
Okay. So I think you did great here. I love the mood of this shot and that it's got this kind of natural sort of 1920s speakeasy thing going on. She looks very jazzy, which I like. I'm not sure, maybe it's a part of a tablecloth or a napkin. What is under her hand that's holding the wine glass?
It's a pair of gloves, and they actually figure prominently in another one of the images. And so they're on the table for that reason. They're one of the common elements in the set of images. Okay.
I cannot, for the life of me, figure out that they're gloves without you telling me that. I think it's visually distracting. So I might be inclined to go in and edit them out on this one because I don't think they're adding to the shot.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually.
And you don't want people pulling away from 90% of the power of the image to look down here in the corner and go, what is that? And then they're focusing on what may be this neat little carrot in the image, but overall is not the importance of the shot. So something to think of.
Yeah, they don't show up in the small booklet, but in this format they do. And so you're absolutely right. I should edit those out.
The lighting's just a little bit too bright, I think, for the mood that you were trying to convey. I love the light and how it's falling across her shoulder and her collarbones and her neck, and we're seeing all that. But I'd like to see it toned down a little bit, especially because you turned her face away from the light. So the brightest spot is actually across the top of that shoulder and across the collarbone instead of to her face. So you want to look at her chest, which, you know, men already have a hard enough time trying to pay attention to the face. So I'd like to see if we could go in and just tone down like right across the décolletage a little bit and pull that highlight down so that it matches her face a little better. Especially because...
Sorry.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I didn't mean to cut you off. go back in and maybe do some dodging and burning in there, and nothing.
Just a little bit, or even going in and just selecting it, selecting that area and just toning down the brightness just a little. Just play with that and the exposure, and see if you can just tone it down just a little bit.
Yeah.
But I do, the quality of the light and the sculpt that it does, plus her muscles and her bone structure is fantastic. I'm not a huge fan of the feathers because I think it takes away from her waist a little bit, but I do think that you redeemed yourself because she has this long line down the edge of her body. So we still get an idea of that waist indentation, even though we don't have it on the side with her hand up with the head. So you saved it there. But food for thought, just be careful to those lines, especially when girls are sitting, because they naturally constrict then, and it shortens the midsection. You want to do everything you can to lengthen it. So her body good. She lost a little bit of what could have been there because of all the feathers. But I like the texture of the feathers, and it adds to the outfit. So I think it works. Love the red outfit with the red lips. I think that's very very classic for the sort of time period that we're nodding to. I like I guess it's a cigar.
It's actually a pen.
It's a pen. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't come out as clearly as we'd hoped.
Okay, so it's a pen, but she's holding it like a cigar. So I'm willing to guess that if you have 30 people that you ask that, because I can tell it's a pen when you tell me that, but because of her hands holding, it's a cigar.
Yeah.
It's something she's smoking. And the only other thing that bothers me about it is that it connects to the top line of the chair perfectly and goes right back across the back of her. So that's a little distracting. It should have been down a little bit further or up a little bit higher to break up that line.
Right. Yeah.
I would also want to go in and just touch up along her right armpit. You have that little bit of fat, and it's because of the way that she's holding her arm, not because she's heavy, but it's making it look more bulgy because of the way that the light is hitting it. So again, going in and just dodging a little bit there and not drawing as much attention to the arm fat, because that's what it is, you know. And it's because she's squishing it up. Anytime you come up against your body, it's going to make it look wider than it is, and maybe softening the line where the arm meets the body, because it's a little bit, you have like that Y going off and it's not a straight line. So anytime that there's fat anywhere on the body, there's a curve in the crease of the line that denotes overweight. So straightening out that line will actually make her look thinner. Right. But overall, I think it's great. I love it. Your watermark is there, but it's so subtle and well done that it looks like it's ingrained. And I was looking to see what was written on the brick. So bravo on being subtle. I appreciate that. I'm not sure that the candles really add to it because you didn't let the candlelight be the source of the light. So I feel like there are a lot of bright white, and I'm not entirely sure, but it might be stronger to edit those out too and just leave the black table a little bit. But I think that's more personal preference than anything else. Overall, it's still a really good, strong image. I like the body language. I love the costuming, and I like the texture and the whole composition as a whole. And it definitely says musician to me. So you've definitely accomplished the goal here. So I'm going to give you 2 on this one. I think it's a commendable image. I think she'll definitely be happy with it, but I think there are a couple of things that we could have did that would have really made it more of a knockout.
It's funny because she and I have been joking about that pen, that everybody's going to think she's vaping.
That everybody's going to think what?
That she's vaping. That she's cigars, you know, and that's what's going on there, which is really kind of funny. I'm just as you were speaking, I was just going to pull up something to some of the elements in there, and I understand perfectly what you're saying about those things. I'm going to show you a different element that I hadn't originally picked.
No, you're not.
Just, I wanted to give you context for this one.
No, you're not allowed to give me context because nobody else is going to see the context in the group. That's a really big thing because I want to do that too, and I totally understand that. As you go, well, you don't get it because you don't understand the context. I'm dealing with this in the Reliquarian all the time right now because they're seeing the images by themselves.
Right.
But if they aren't seeing that image in the booklet, or they're not coming across that in succession with this image, then they're not getting the context, and you're not going to be able to show everyone that sees this image. So it has to speak for itself.
Absolutely fair enough. Okay, we'll move on.
I know that's hard. I struggle with that one too.
It's funny because the gloves, the boa, and the candles are all common elements in the booklet, and that's why I wanted to show you one other thing. But
okay, well, you can show me one other, but you have to sacrifice one of the ones that are on the side then.
Yeah, but it's not a portrait what I was going to show you, so I'll pull it. I'll leave it for now.
Okay. All right, let's do the next one.
Okay, here we have same woman, same shoot, different location, different outfit, also for the same context.
Okay. What do you like about this one? Is this one in the booklet?
This is in the booklet. All three that I'm showing you of her are in the booklet.
Okay.
This is actually the back cover of the CD with a square crop that starts around the middle of her forehead and goes to just below her bust line. And this is the full portrait, which I kept because she liked it and wanted a print of it.
Okay.
And so I did it up for her this way. And I believe she may have used this one as well as a profile picture, not on Facebook, but somewhere else already. And she's told me she hopes to use this in some publicity materials that she's going to be putting out. Nice.
So it's really important, and we're hitting on a really good point, that as long as your client loves it, whatever any other photographer or professional says to you is secondary to that.
What I like about it is the light in her hair and the look in her eye. I realize there are a couple of sections in it that are a bit blown out, especially on her shoulder on the right-hand side, our right, her left.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that that's an imperfection in it, and there's a little bit on the back end of her cheek that's a bit blown out. But I don't think in this case that it detracts from the overall image. And I think those are acceptable problems. The thing that really catches me is the look on her face and the hair.
I do think that she's giving you very fierce expression, and the eyes will sell it more than anything else. So we're in agreement there. I gotta disagree with you though. I don't like the highlights on her hair. I think that they're too harsh. Specifically, she's coming down right across the bangs, and you have that really sharp white blown out. And I think because her hair and her lips are the only thing of color, where everything else kind of has like this black gray tone with the background and her outfit. And the other side of her head her hair looks brunette. If you only had that half of the image, you would think that she was a dark brunette or had black hair. So we didn't rock the red hair in full force. We only did it half. So she's kind of got this Cruella de Vil thing going on right now that I'm not particularly fond of. I think the skin retouching could use another workover. Her face looks a little bit blotchy to me, and I'd be interested to see the unretouched one because I'm thinking, how old is she?
She's in her late 30s, I believe, mid 30s.
Oh, okay. So she's like me, and she's got a couple of lines, and I think because, say that again?
She might be around 40. I'm not even sure.
Okay. Well, either way, I'm guessing that if we look at the unretouched one, that she has quite a few lines that ended up getting retouched out, and the retouching shows that they were retouched out. So that's something that I don't think is a particular strength of yours yet that you could use a little more practice on, is just learning how to retouch the skin and keep even skin tones and textures so that it doesn't look like it was retouched. But it also comes into play that anybody that's over the age of like 25 tops, and there are exceptions that have amazing skin, but after 25 you start to see beginning signs of aging with, you know, the lines around the crow's feet and the laugh lines and the smiles around the cheeks, and you know, forehead lines and stuff like that. And so my general rule is that you leave any lines that are caused by expression, because retouching them out actually takes away from the potency of whatever emotion they're conveying. But you can definitely soften the lines, like the ones that go across the forehead. Those ones are always ones that take off years, but you can see it a little bit because you did it on the face. I see it right under her lip on this side. She's got like those two little dimples of shadow because the shadow and light isn't conforming to her face the way it would if it was perfectly smooth. The other issue is that I can still see the line of her neck here right above the strap, which if her face was completely smooth, she wouldn't have necklines either. So you have to make sure that you're retouching all the way down her body to complete the illusion. There's just a couple of the flyaway hairs that I would definitely want to get rid of because you're not seeing the whole hair. You're just seeing these little flecks of light from where they're catching the highlight of the sun. So they look spotty on the outside. I'd want to touch them out. And the barred gate or whatever she's sitting up against the railing, there's two dots on whatever the piece is that touches the wall. Those would go too because they're not connected to anything, and I think that they're distracting. I do love that we got all the texture in the top of her outfit with the crochet. I think that the light across her cheeks are really distracting. I would want to touch that light out and just give her smooth light on her face because I don't think it's adding anything of value. It's just distracting you away from the eyes, which are the best feature of the image. Same thing, the highlight on her, like right on the underneath of her lip right there, that hot spot's really distracting as well. So so there's a couple of things that could be changed that I think would make a significant impact on the image. I gotta be honest, this is not one of my favorites that I've seen from you. This wouldn't have made my portfolio of potential images for her to pick from.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a 1 on that one. But I want to reiterate again how strongly I feel that if she's like, I love it, I'm using it in my promotional materials, it's my profile photo, anything that I or anyone else says is secondary to that because that is your goal.
Right. Just for the sake of curiosity, I'm going to show you the unretouched version because I just pulled it up.
Okay.
You can tell me what you think. I just have to reshare the screen. So 1 second. How do I stop? I stop by re-clicking, do I? Nope.
Yeah, if you re-click the screen share, it should turn it off and then you can turn it back on.
There we go. Okay, now I'll just pull up the, there it is there.
That was a really harsh critique. I'm sorry, I'm beating on you.
But all right, that's what I'm here for, and I'm not so sensitive that I think it's a problem. Sorry about the little hash mark in the middle there. That's from adjusting the skin later.
That's okay. Can we pull that up a little closer? Can you zoom in so we can get a closer look at her face?
Yeah.
Good.
And need to center it better? I'm not sure.
No, that's good. So yeah, and her skin's actually not bad. I can tell, like, and these are lines too, like the ones that are right here. Those are definitely age lines that definitely add more youthful. So I think you did a great job retouching those. I'm not sure what you did in the post-processing, but I like her natural skin color better than the retouch. I think it's a little, there's something that you did with the saturation and the contrast of her skin in the edited one that I think is actually making her look older than she does in this one. But I love the retouching that you did on her eyes and how you made them pop. I still would be inclined to go sample the colors that are in this shadow and retouch out those like tiger stripes across her cheek, and that hot spot on her lip is making me crazy.
I could see that, yeah.
And then the two little shadow dimples that are on the underneath of her lip on the other side, like right here.
Yeah, the two, I don't know if you can see my pointer here, but the two on our left.
Yes.
On her right, yeah. I didn't see. I tried actually. My goal here was to do a minimal retouch, and actually, I'll just click. I'll click on the progress here. So I first did a smart filter with a camera raw, And that's
Yeah, see, I think that's
just brightening, and all that is brightening with camera raw.
I think you over brightened it. I like it better without that. I would rather,
Yeah.
if you gave me my choice between the two, I would take the unretouched one over that.
Okay.
I don't think that you have to pull the brightness in her face out that much.
Okay. Then I dodged and burned, and then I did a retouch, which is here. And I think you're likely right that the retouch was not very well done. Now that I'm looking at it, there's the retouch, and I can see the splotchiness in it myself now that I'm looking.
I think it's just a little harsh. I'm totally with you in getting rid of the lines under her eyes. I think that that's definitely a benefit, but I think you pulled the brightness up too much. And so it made all of the texture of her skin very, very contrasty, and it makes her face look muddy. You're getting these really dark shadows under her nose with highlight that's actually giving her like almost 5 o'clock shadow, which no girl wants ever. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I know.
And we're getting a lot of heat and color distortion on her cheek because that side is in shadow because of the light source. Bringing it up high enough to be able to see that is distorting the color, and she's got that cheap hooker blush thing going on that she doesn't have in the actual original photo. So this one would probably be a rework for me.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'm actually playing with the camera raw filter right now, and I just realized I bumped the clarity, which was a big mistake. I think a lot of the problems you're talking about, I just did a very, very fast thing here. I have the highlights bumped all the way down, which I think actually they shouldn't be because of the because a couple of the qualities. It burns out a couple of things a little more, but it actually corrects a couple of mistakes.
This would be a good one too. To
contrast bumped up, so I have the contrast and clarity bumped up. So I think you're right. I just changed the camera raw filter a little bit, but I didn't. It'll be nothing serious here.
This would be a good one to drop into Sphere 1 retouched and let some of the other proteges take a crack at it too, and maybe have them screen record their editing for you. John does really well with smoothing the skin without it looking plastic. I don't necessarily think that it's one of Nicole's strengths, but it depends on the image. Sometimes she does really good. Sometimes I think she pushes it just a little bit too far. But it would be interesting if that was the edge, to just see how everybody else would retouch it and be able to see what they were doing. And maybe that'll give you some good insight on how you want to retouch it yourself. But I do think that this one would benefit from a rework.
Yep. Okay. Fair enough. So I'm going to take this out of Photoshop here so that I can.
Sounds good.
There we go. So that I can come back to what we're doing.
Good.
And find my screen share again. Sorry. Oh, I clicked on the wrong window. Sorry, that's not the one we want. There we go. I opened up a bunch of other windows. All right. So I got one more from that, which this one is actually one that some people have found controversial. I like this next one because of the composition. And also, again, the look in her eye. We have the boa, which was a mandatory thing in my, a mandatory element of what I was doing.
Okay.
Which I wanted the red, I wanted reds and blues throughout this shoot. And so you'll see the ones that I've chosen are focusing on the reds.
Okay.
So this one, I like this one because you can see it. Yeah. I like it because of the composition. I actually, when I cropped it for the booklet, I actually had to make a choice about it because, and it's actually, it's not in the booklet. It's on the, this is actually the back of the CD, the very back when you pick up the jewel, right, and you flip it over. A lot of the negative space that's in here was left deliberately for credits. And so if you look on there's a lot of negative space on the left, our left, on her right. Mm-hmm. That's actually where the credits go on the CD. And it was cropped just below the bar above her head into a square crop that kept her knee in place.
Okay. I'm not a big fan of the no parking sign. I think that's really distracting. And I think that because you have a repeating pattern in the bars, that you could just clone stamp it out so that it would echo the other side of her and give you some symmetry. I would be interested in at least playing with that. However, if you have a crop down and that's the only place it's being used, then it doesn't matter, but then you should have brought that to critique instead.
Yeah, I actually prefer this one myself. And this is one I actually deliberately included the no parking sign for the context that it gave to the whole thing.
What is the context that you feel like gives?
The mood was supposed to be part of a series that invoked an idea of rootlessness and of but combined with a sort of edgy elegance. And so the idea of the no parking sign being included along with the wrought iron there was to try to get this idea of not being where she belonged.
Okay. No, I don't care. I still don't like it.
Fair enough.
I do. It's very bright and it's very square. And so it takes me, I want to keep looking at that sign instead of at her. And maybe if it was shot at a lower aperture so that it was faded out, but it's so sharp and contrasty that it wants to keep distracting your view away from her. And she should absolutely be the focus. I like the idea of the boa. However, I don't feel that you're using it in a way that makes it flattering or conducive. It looks like she's just kind of holding it there. And it's kind of got this like dead animal feeling to it rather than being part of a fashion statement. I think if it had been maybe around her but off the shoulders, that would have been a little more beneficial, especially because you had her reach back and behind you. And because you did that, instead of having her reach out this way where we could have taken her arm out and away, because as soon as you stretch the muscles, then you thin them. By having her come back, you're thickening up right here. And she actually, you can see like the muscle definition under her arm a little bit, but because of the way that it is, it's making her shoulders and that arm look really broad and pronounced, which is much more masculine than it is feminine, especially along the lines of the shoulders here. And it's probably because she's in decent shape, but that masculine feel to the muscle structure, you know, takes away from the femininity and the softness and the sensuality of it that we're conveying with the outfit and the red. And so I feel like they're conflicting with each other a little bit. We also needed to pay a little bit more attention to the light because you have these harsh highlights that are right along underneath her, you know, underneath the curve of her breasts. And so they're focusing right on the lines in her midsection, which are false fat rolls because she's sitting down. So as soon as you sit down, you compress everything in your midsection. So it's making her look like she's got more fat on her than she does. So a really easy way to combat that is if you have somebody sit down and you have these rolls that come out, stretching up, the longer you stretch, you know, the less angle that we get. So having her kind of shift to the side and hold would have been better than having her sit flat and adding fat that way. So it's just, they're just subtle changes in it, but I would have definitely reached her arm up higher if I was having her hold it. I don't know. Is she holding sunglasses there? Yeah.
That's definitely sunglasses, yeah.
Okay. So again, we're adding these elements that could have been really prominent, and we're having to second guess what they are. So I'm all about having the props, but if you have them, make sure they serve a purpose. Right now, you needed to decide whether you were going to have her holding the sunglasses on her hand and kind of being like this aloof sort of, you know, like Paris Hilton kind of celebrity thing of, I don't care where I'm supposed to be because I'm important. And, or, you know, having that movie starlet thing, or having her wear them and more nodding towards like the Audrey Hepburn kind of look and having that classic feel. But right now, the glasses are an afterthought because she's wrapping her hands around the bars. So it was one or the other. They're competing with each other right now. I do like the idea of the fishnets, but again, I don't feel like we picked the right angle to be able to show off her legs. So instead it's just coming towards you. So you just have this like baked potato blob of fish netting because we can't see any definition of her legs or where the knee starts and the leg ends. It's just kind of falling off the screen. So again, there were some subtle changes, and I actually think that this shot probably would have been a lot stronger if you'd shot it as a profile image from the side as opposed to dead on.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, but I do like the light on her face. I think that's really charming. I like that the red ties in with the lips and the boa. I do like the kind of sort of not carefree, but careless expression. Like, I don't care and I'm here and you can just deal with it kind of thing that she's got going on.
I made a decision to leave the hair on her face. Do you agree with it?
I don't like the one that's cutting across her cheek. I feel like that one's distracting, but I don't necessarily mind the little curl that's coming down from her bangs.
It's the one cutting across her cheek that I had to think about, and I decided I liked it better because it you know, the kind of carefree thing you were talking about. It's kind of, you know, here I am, and I'm not really carefully coiffed.
Yeah.
And so I chose to keep it, but I was debating whether it was the right choice.
Yeah, I mean, I think the image works. Personally, if you're asking me, if it's cropped down, it's no big deal, but I would get rid of the no parking sign. I don't think it adds enough of an element to be worthy of the amount of visual energy that it takes up. And I would also retouch out the lock that's above her because it's hitting the light so harshly that it's just this spotlight above her head. Right. But the only other thing that I would recommend that you do now, because the bottom line is that the shoot's over and this is what you have to work with, I would definitely go in and dodge and burn a little bit along that waistline to turn down those highlights on the rolls.
Easily
on
done.
our waistline. That'll make a huge difference because whatever is protruding catches the light.
Right.
So, you know, the higher the highlights are on her waistline, the more it's going to translate as fat that isn't necessarily there. So
this is the crop. Oh, I've left the text in. Sorry.
I like it much better like this.
There's without the text.
Yeah, I like this one much better than the other one. I think this works much stronger as an image. I'd be inclined to just give her a little bit of love and take up a little bit of the space under the arm with liquefy. Not a lot, just a little to kind of tone it in, soften the highlight on her shoulder, and darken down that edge along her waistline. But other than that, I love that we can appreciate her face more, and I like that we got rid of just a little bit of the hair so that it still kind of cuts in because it actually accentuates the
choice. When I did the crop, I did a couple of other edits. I took out some dusts and that was on her dress. There were some boa feathers that were on her dress, and I took out that piece of hair there.
This is much stronger. This will get you at least a 2 with me. The other one was heading towards 1. So we're going to pretend you brought this one to critique.
All right. I prefer the 2 to the 1. I don't want 1s. I want 2s. I want 3s.
Yeah.
Right out loud. Okay. Shall we move on?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to skip. I'm going to skip down to 1. Sorry, I'm just trying to get out of the screen share. There we are. I'm going to skip down to 1 in a second here. That I want to know if you've seen this. Well, I want to know if we critiqued this before. I don't think so.
No. No, I'm pretty sure everything you brought was new. Okay. I don't think I've seen any of these yet. I love this one.
This is one of my favorite images that I've made ever, to be really honest.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. It's sexy and it's subtle. It leaves a lot to the imagination, so it comes off as really classy. The only things that I'm not fond of is that the thigh highs are uneven. So I would have liked to have seen them both at the same height, I think.
You don't like the little flash of skin on only one leg?
No, and I wouldn't mind it, but it looks unkept to me. Like she's got this very sort of effortless sex appeal going towards her, and I feel like it's like, oh, it just happened to fall off the shoulder when I placed it off my shoulder, so it would look like it just happened to fall off my shoulder. You know, it's like a intended unintentional effect kind of thing. But I think the one thigh high being low and at the knee just looks unkept, like she didn't pull it all the way up. So I don't mind the flash of skin, but then I would have liked to have seen the other one, and it may have just been that we just pinned up the sweater a little bit higher to be able to do that. But it bothers me that they're off center.
Yeah, okay.
And the only other thing that bothers me are her hands. Her hands are very, very straight across the top of the bookshelf, and it's making them almost look a little bit distorted. And I'm not sure what she's doing with her one finger down there, but it's just awkward hand placement. So John will be very happy to hear me giving somebody else that critique besides him, because I'm always beating on him for that.
I seriously thought about taking that fingernail off her hand and on that finger, but when I did, it just wrecked everything. So I left it in.
Yeah. You know, but those are small things. So overall, it's still a really great shot. I love the bookshelves and the visual interest of that, and that it doesn't become overwhelming. The lighting's really great. We could have kept just a little bit more of the separation between her legs crossing over, because we lose a little bit of that leg in the shadow over the first one, but that's really nitpicking at it. I really do like this one. I think this is a really sexy shot. I may steal this for the next boudoir session I do and shoot them in front of my bookshelf, because it really is superb.
This is in a friend's house, and we picked this house partly because of this bookshelf.
Yeah, it works really well. I really love it. Yeah, it's the hands and behind the knee that bother me. The hands need to be doing something else. I think the one that's on the bookshelf, I would have had pulling the book out just to give her, you want to give a story and give her hands something to do. You know, then the illusion is complete because you caught a moment, you didn't pose her. Right now, we're so close, and the hands are what's giving it away that it was a composed shot and not somebody that happened to just lean in and catch her doing what she does.
I could have her reaching for Batman up there.
Yes, and that would make it better. I would absolutely be detail-oriented over which book I had her picking.
Yeah.
And that would be great.
The Batman would have been a nod to the person whose house it was too, because he's an artist for DC Comics.
Nice. Yeah, then that would have totally been it.
Yeah, a friend of mine.
But overall, I think this is probably one of the best photos that I've seen from you so far.
Yay!
So I'm going to give this one a 3. This is one of my favorites in your portfolio right now.
Good. Well, it's definitely one that I have picked out. Just a question. I have another version of it, which I didn't pick because I think this one's stronger. But I have another version where the bookshelf is considerably darker. Do you think that would be a good thing to do, just looking at it this way, or would you leave it like this?
No, I like this one as is. There's very, very little that's wrong with this one. I like that we can see all the books and texture that gives as a preface. It's really just the hands that are bothering me. And I think she's got it looks like a pocket. With that strip. I would retouch that out because I think that's distracting. Just because of the way that her hands are and how it shifts the fabric. I keep asking myself why there's a pocket on her butt. And it's not. It's because it's hanging off. So I think that's a little distracting. I'd be inclined to go in and just retouch that out personally, but that's personal preference. But overall, it's really strong.
I might actually go do that. That's not a bad idea at all.
So, okay, let's see the next one.
The next one. Well, let me show you the same person. And this is one that some of my cohort members liked. So I picked it out here. This is the same girl from the same shoot in different outfit.
Okay. She's very pretty. I
don't think this is as strong, by the way, just for the record.
I don't either. You have to be really careful about keeping, and she's skinny, but anytime that you have the arm pressed against, it immediately gets wider. So you're adding length. And because you have her bringing that hand back, it starts to make the arm look really fat as opposed to the width that it actually is. It's amazing how much thinner you can make an arm look depending on how you place it. Like it's really, really wide here and it makes me look really, really fat, as opposed to if I bring it back here. So I think that we added a lot of weight on her that didn't need to be there. You can see it at the bottom of the elbow too, coming round because of how tight she's pulling it back to get her fingernails to her lips.
Mm-hmm.
She's squishing out all that fat. And she's not heavy, so it just makes her look really wide. Same thing on the other side, we're catching it in the mirror. I would want to go in and retouch that and just flatten that curve a little bit and either warp or liquefy it just to pull it in a little. I do love the one eye look with the hair falling in her face. I'm not a huge fan of the wardrobe. I think it's the hat that's really bothering me because I do think the shirt's really cute. But that's personal preference though. That's not anything that has to do with the overall photograph. That's just me not liking the hat, I think.
Okay. She picked the hat actually.
Okay. And trust me, I have plenty of people that pick things that I'm like, okay.
I actually included this because I was wondering what you would say about it. I wanted that critique you just gave me. So that's very, very helpful. Thank you.
Don't be shy about if you look at something and go, I don't think it works. Like if they really love it and she's like, this is the hat that my dad gave me when I was 8 and I've worn it every day since, then take a couple pictures in the hat, but then take a couple pictures without it too. Because most of the time I won't be like, no, you're not wearing that, but I'll change it and take pictures in what I know that they look good in. And then they end up not buying those shots of the ones that they thought that they wanted. Because that's why they hire a pro, because they don't know. That's your job. The outfit's really cute. This setting I don't feel really matches unless the story we're telling is like, teen rebel Little Red Riding Hood in grandma's attic, because the mirror's so dated and with the slanted ceilings and everything, it's got this old grandma house feel going on with what is kind of a like more youthful fashion kind of feel. So her being cute and playful in grandma's attic isn't selling it for me.
All right.
But I do like the light on it. I love the texture of her hair. I love, that her eye pops in it. Her fingernails are killing her in every shot though. They're so loud white.
Yeah.
Comparatively, I would have had her hands behind her back in every single shot.
Maybe I could, I could probably just sample a color and change the color of her fingernail. I bet that would help. You
could try, but it's so white that you'll have a hard time doing that. Nails are actually one of those things that are really hard to retouch out. And I'm a big stickler for the color on the nails, but also the length. Like I've had clients get mad at me because they do like the claw nails that come out like 3 inches and I shorten them in the photos because I think that they look stupid.
I'm with you.
Those are things to consider and really things to have a conversation about beforehand, because you don't want your clients going and spending $50 to get a manicure if they're gonna look stupid in the photos. So, and it depends. Some people will probably love them, but I am not the person they go to when they want to show off the nails. They serve no purpose. Like you can't even text with them. Like they just render you useless. And right. So that never sells as sexy to me. So overall, I like the shot. I like the lighting. There's a couple of little shifts that we could have done with the pose, I think, to make it more flattering. I love mirror shots, but in this case, I don't think that the mirror is lending itself to the overall feeling that she's giving the shot. And I'm not sold on it as a whole. I definitely think if you were choosing between that one and the library one, that the library one wins, like hands down. So
I agree with you.
This is a 2 for me. It's still got a lot of promise. I really like it. And I think she's giving you good face and it's got a lot of texture and the lighting's decent on it. It's just, it's not hitting that wow factor for me.
All right. The idea that it makes her look heavier than she is actually really important, because this shoot was motivated by extreme weight loss on her part. And, okay. She had lost something like 40 pounds. And so we, and this was a celebratory photo shoot. So if anything's making her look heavy, then that's very bad. She loved this shot though. So
good. And again, as long as she loves it, it's good to go.
Yeah.
All right. You may pick one more. Which one do you want to bring?
Okay. Which one am I going to pick? I've got different reasons for picking each of those last two.
Decisions.
Yeah, I'm going to pick the one that I didn't have to redo the retouch on.
Okay.
This one.
I love this. I think this one is really strong for you too. It's soft, the lighting soft, her expression soft. It's very very dulcet in a sweet come get me kind of way, but be gentle. which is really, really appealing for boudoir. That sells fantastic. Because the more provocative and aggressive you get about it visually, you have to be careful about what the underlying messages are and what it says. So this one's really sweet. She's beautiful. I love the catch lights that we're getting in her eyes and how that brings her to life. I like the texture of the hair. I like that it's soft, you know, the lighting's soft, the candlelight's soft, the pillow that she's laying on is soft, the expression's soft, the retouching soft. It's a soft image all the way around, and it really works for this. Things that could be improved. Whatever the tattoo is, there isn't enough of it showing to warrant its place, so it's visually distracting. I would want to touch that out, I think, and just say that it was hidden behind her arm. And her hands are gripping up the pillow claw-like. So I think softening those hands again would have just been, you know, the cream on the cake.
She was the fuzz of that pillow and grabbing it all the time. I kept having to tell her to loosen up, actually.
Yeah, and
she hadn't done it.
Yeah, there's one little spot on her wrist right up against the pillow that I see that should be retouched out. Other than that, you just have to be careful. You can see the shadow along underneath the bra line, and before we get to the waist, there's like that line that if she arched her back would be where the crease and the flesh would be. So retouching that out and smoothing that shadow out would make her look a little thinner. And then I would just want to take the liquify and just touch in her back ever so slightly. And this isn't because she's heavy, it's because in order to hold your boobs up properly, the bras have to like sit tight. So they always indent into your back. Like we always have lines from them, things that guys have no appreciation for. So just going in and retouching under the bra so that the skin sits flush and level with the bra line will also make her look more slender. It's a really, really, really subtle retouch, but it makes a huge difference in the overall image. You'll see it when you try it.
Yeah.
But I love this one. I love the coloring, love the lighting. This is definitely another 3 for me.
This was lit entirely by the candles and the modeling light on my strobe.
Love it. I do that all the time, and they're always some of my favorite images. I think it's beautiful. All right, show me the other one real quick. We'll look at that one too, and then we're gonna
I brought it in. I asked people what they thought. I did a retouch. People thought the retouch was. I did a second retouch, which people thought was stronger, and that's it there.
I really like this image. I really, really hate the blue lights in the bottom corner. That's my biggest critique with it. I love her face. I love the angle. I love that we're getting motion in her hair. I like the lighting across her collarbones. It's just a little bit splotchy. I like the sharpness in her eyes. It's a good angle to minimize her nose because she's got a pretty prominent nose.
Yeah.
But I love that we have the sharpness in the eyes and the eyelashes, and along the lines of her lips, we could probably soften it just a little bit in her lips because I actually think it's making her lips look cracked rather than voluptuous. Like, you know, like it's cold outside, I need chapstick. But I like that texture in the lips. So it's got to be really, really, really subtle, just a little bit. But I love everything about this. If you just cropped it in so that we didn't have those blue lights, they're not adding anything. They're taking you away from her. But I love the blue light coming from behind her, like you can see on the opposite shoulder coming in, and I like it coming through her hair and the color contrast of it. I just don't like the actual lights themselves being in the shot. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. I could crop it square, and it would take out one of the 2 lights easily.
Yeah. So, and the skin retouching is beautiful on her face too. It gets a little bit muddy just around the collarbones, but I'm guessing that has more to do with the competing lights and the way that the shadows are than the retouching. But I might be inclined to just go in and soften up, particularly right along her collarbone here.
I think that's also the depth of field, but because I don't think I did a lot of retouching on her collarbone, actually.
Okay, well then maybe you need to.
Yeah, maybe I should.
But the lighting on her face is beautiful. I love that. I don't want you to touch that at all. It just looks a little bit muddy right here with that highlight on her collarbone.
Mm.
Yep. So, but overall, this is beautiful, and this would be another 3 for me too.
Yeah, except it doesn't count. So.
Except it doesn't count. So.
Yeah.
All right. So go ahead and turn off the screen share.
Yeah, got to go back into Chrome here.
I'm excited that we got to see so much new work for you. I'm definitely seeing a lot of growth between, you know, your foundation sphere critiques and what we're seeing now. I'm seeing a lot of photography growth and understanding coming out. Do you feel that way?
I'm feeling it. Actually, there was I've forgotten who said it. It might be, you know, do you ever listen to Brian Caporicci's stuff?
No.
He has a photography business podcast I listen to all the time called Sprouting Photographer. A little plug for it because it's really good.
Okay.
I believe it was in his podcast that he talked about 4 levels of competence. And it's interesting because I can feel myself at what he thinks of as what he said is the third. If I've got this straight, the 4 levels are: you're incompetent and you don't know you're incompetent. So this is the person who goes to American Idol and then gets all angry because they said truthfully that they can't sing.
Yeah.
Right. Then you reach the point where you're still incompetent, but you know you are, which means that you're actually more competent than you previously were because you can recognize your own problems. Then the 3rd level is where you're competent, but you still think that you're crap. And the 4th level is when you start to actually recognize your own strengths, and you can actually fairly judge what you're doing. And I feel like I'm I'm looking more and more at my stuff, and people are saying, "Oh, that's wonderful," and I'm looking at it going, "No, that's shit. That's crap." I'm going to
Nice.
here, and I'm at that stage right now. So that's why I picked 1 or 2 of those images there, where people were saying, "Oh, that's wonderful," and I wasn't so sure, so I threw them in to see what you'd say. And,
Okay.
you know, the one with the mirror was one of those cases.
Good. I think your ability to understand, and this is something that I definitely want to see from you when we get to level 19, is I want to see your ability to understand which is the stronger image. Because like the one of her against the gate, the square one is a much, much stronger image. Totally. That one should have been brought to critique as a stronger image.
Yeah, I don't know. I just preferred the other one, but actually I
have those all the time, and that's really important too. Is understanding that your favorite image and the strongest image may be 2 different things.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but that's something like I don't mind you bringing a couple to level 19 where you have either different crops or different edits or 2 pictures from the same series. But you have to know which one you think is the strongest, and I want to be in agreement with you about that. I think that's going to be really important, especially now that you're on the path of the protege, because this is something you're going to be doing for other people now.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be doing new shoots again over the next couple of months. So by the time we get to 19, hopefully I'll have all new material again.
Okay. What are you, how are you feeling about Sphere 1? And going through that process? I've had a lot of people telling me that it's really good, but it's also really overwhelming, and we may have overdone it at an early.
I honestly don't know, because I went through a period over the last few months where in my own life I had enough stuff going on that I actually neglected my Sphere 1 for a long while. And
you're not alone. That's everyone.
Yeah, I disappeared for a couple of months. But and I think that what you prepared for me is in many ways just what I need. So I'm not actually feeling particularly critical of it. I'm feeling like it's a big challenge, because now the stuff you've got for 15, 16, 17, 18 are mostly business things. And I'm finding that to be a big challenge, because something where I'm truly incompetent is in business.
Okay.
You know, and so that's an interesting thing. And also I'm having a serious debate with myself, both about Path of the Protege and about my own business stuff, about whether I'm actually at the level, quality-wise and in terms of my own professional abilities, whether I'm actually ready for either of them. And so I'm having a personal debate on that, which I think I'm just going to have to get through.
Okay, well, I like that you feel that way. I don't want people that are overconfident. And, you know, I think too that it's important to know that probably only about 30 to 40% of you guys that are in the Path of the Protege are going to pass your Vanguard the first time. The standards are really high. And they are not in a hurry to invite people in to teach that they didn't personally invite to come teach to begin with. So it's really their mentality is everybody on the Vanguard has to be in agreement that the Arcanum is less without you.
Right.
So that's definitely something to think of. Now, if we're talking about me and you and why I recommended you for the path, you have a very strong background in teaching, which not a lot of the other people there have. In fact, most of them, this will be their first teaching experience, but they have other strengths. So I think that that's definitely an asset, and I think that you have the ability to convey. And I don't think that you have to be an expert to teach. I think that there's two very successful kind of teachers, and one of them is results-based, meaning that they've gone through, they've done it, and so they can tell you how to do it because they've already done it. And the other one is research-based, like you just said, the 4 different elements of the artist. If you have other resources to give them, they can learn from those just as easily. So it's just like, preparing a curriculum. You don't have to necessarily be an expert in those things in order to teach them exceptionally well. So you just have to decide what your strength is. And if you decide that you're not ready for the path or that you don't feel like you're adding that, you know, you can always slow down, continue through Sphere 1, and then maybe continue on the path during Sphere 2 when you have a little more experience. But, you know, I think that we can both say that we've seen a lot of growth in a lot of the people in our cohort in a very short amount of time. Look at how far Lars went in like 15 levels. Like, it was unbelievable looking at his Sphere 4 critique as opposed to what he's producing now. So immense amounts of growth can occur in a very small amount of time. So I don't think that it would be a bad thing for you to really consider what you want your cohort to be about and what it is that you want to teach, and then maybe look at changing around the second half of your Sphere 1 to coincide so that you're learning more about what you want to be teaching.
Well, I do know that the reason I initially hesitated about getting into the whole Path of the Protege thing was because I will not seek to become a master in the Arcanum until I think I can do so with integrity. And I'm aware that at this point I wouldn't be ready. So so I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't do it today. But
okay.
But by the end of the summer, who knows? Because actually I've set aside this summer and also the fall for really establishing myself. I've reduced my work at the college where I teach. I've reduced the amount of I'm on vacation as of today at the college, and until the end of the summer. Then at the end of the summer, I only have 1 course.
Okay, so what do you feel that you need that is most essential to your growth to get you from where you are to where you want to be?
Well, I need to do 2 or 3 things. One of the things I need to do, frankly, is something that I'm hoping to start within the next month or so, and I'm going to be looking to you guys to try to keep me honest on it, which is to start actually shooting more regularly on a professional basis, because I've been shooting now, I've been doing photography now for about 12 or 13 years. I've been really serious about it for about 9 years, but I have only been paid for it in the entire 9 years. I've probably made $1,500 because I haven't been seeking to work to earn money. I haven't been looking to do it for a very long time. I've been saying, will you please come and let me take your portrait because I really, really want to do it and you're wonderful. And people will, and so I've been treating it like people are doing me a favor. And what I need to start doing is saying, is I need to change that mentality. And I don't believe that, because that's a goal I have, to actually switch into photography, if possible, full time within the next couple of years, or at least make it my main enterprise within the next couple of years. I need to start moving in that direction. And until I have, I don't think I'll be able to teach with integrity. So that's one thing. And the other thing is I need to be consistently producing work that's of the quality that I need to do to be able to actually feel like I deserve to be paid. And,
okay, well, let's pause on that for a second. Why is it that you feel that if you're not being paid as a pro that you can't teach?
Because it's not so much that, it's not that I can't teach if I'm not being paid as a pro. It's that has become for me a key element in my own growth, that I've chosen to move into photography as a career path.
Okay.
And because of that, I need, at a personal level, not at any kind of objective level, but at a personal level, in order for me to feel as though I have the integrity to say to people, I can help you to move forward in your own photography. I need to be still moving forward in my own, and this is a goal that I need to be reaching. I don't need to be there yet, but I do need to be reaching it. I think
it's important to really consider what it is that you're going to teach then. A couple of years ago, man, did I get raked across the coals when I said that I shot JPEG and not RAW. You would not believe the pitchforks and torches that came out over that one. And how dare I, it was a couple of weeks before WPPI when I put up a public post about it and said that I was switching over to RAW. How dare I think that I deserve to teach a masterclass at WPPI when I don't even understand the benefits of shooting in RAW. And just, it was unbelievable how angry they got about it. And it was kind of important to note that the class that I was teaching was on how to do $3,500 sales sessions, not how to shoot RAW. Yeah. Otherwise, they may have had a leg to stand on with that. So unless you want to build your cohort around how to be a successful, financially independent photographer, then that is not a prerequisite for you being able to help people.
And I don't think it is because I have no intention of teaching that, because
right.
I'm not there. Maybe in 5 years I'll be qualified to teach something like that, but not now. And I'm not in this for the business. I'm in the business for the photography, if that makes sense, which is I'm aware already potentially an issue for the business. But no, in any cohort I would have, it would be all about the photography and the quality of the shooting, and not about the business side. And in fact, I would probably seek a cohort of beginners, because I think that's where my strength is going to lie, is in teaching beginners.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think
you haven't been in there yet, but that's definitely something you can do. When you go into the antechamber to select potential apprentices, you can pick their skill level. So you can pick like beginner, novice, intermediate, expert. Like you can definitely decide to work with people that still have that new camera smell on them.
Which is exactly what I will do.
Yeah, and I think that you hit on a really good point, and that's kind of the basis for the entire Path of the Protege program, is that we're looking for people that have the integrity, have the charisma, have the mental ability to sit and commit themselves as much to somebody else's success as they do their own, because there is always somebody that you know more than, and there's always somebody that you can teach. So for you, I'm all about getting you set up for business too. But if you're trying to do that in line with the Path of the Protege, I just want you to take a couple of days and really do some soul searching and decide if this is something that you want to try to take on, because it is a lot of time commitment. And you get that with me, because I've had a ton of stuff going on here personally and professionally and, medically. And so all of that conflicts, and it leads to me neglecting my apprentices on occasion for a couple of days at a time. And they you know, some of you are very, very understanding of that and are just go do your thing and I'll check in if I need you. But I do get some angry letters, and I have had people cancel their accounts because they don't have my undivided attention 24 hours a day. So, and that's totally fine. That just depends on what they're looking for. And some of the masters are more hands-on than others. So setting the precursor for what your availability and your point of contact is going to be key, I think.
Believe me, I know all about that from my teaching experience now.
Right, which is what I think puts you at an advantage.
I get the same thing with my 160 college students.
Yeah.
Every semester, where some of them expect you to answer their email now, right now, this second. I once received an email at midnight when I was in bed. When I got up the next morning, there were 4 emails. Why aren't you answering my email? And one of them was sent at 2 in the morning. One of them was sent at 4 in the morning. And it was like, because I was asleep.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's part of the negative feeling on the world we live in, where everything is so instant availability and instant gratification, is that people have expectations. Like, one of the worst things they ever did was put the marker on Facebook that says message read, because then they're like, you read it, but you didn't respond.
Yeah.
You know, and so, and it's funny because on the other end of it, I get the same way. I'm like, okay, well, I saw that you read it and that was yesterday. Why didn't you get back to me? You know, and people just have no concept of what's going on in lives, you know, and maybe they want to write out a well thought out response and they don't want to do it on their phone. They want to wait until they get to the computer. So all things to think of. Where I think you are going to struggle in being on the path of the protege and your sphere 1 at the same time, because you have a customized sphere 1 based on this. I think that both of them are going to require a lot of time and attention from you.
I've noticed that already. Yeah.
I think if you're on vacation, at least we have eradicated your other workload, which frees up the time you were spending on that. But yours are also going in different directions, because you're not trying to teach business to your students. You're trying to teach art. And if we're being really honest, I think that your art can still use a lot of growth and improvement before you have the ability to really teach somebody else how to do it. I'd like to see consistent 3 stars at level 19 before I'm like, yeah, he's got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good point. And it was really eye-opening for me to actually put one of my images in the path of the protege and let the proteges critique it, because it helps keep you humble and realize that there's always room for growth, and that what you're conveying and what's being conveyed are 2 entirely different things most of the time.
Yeah.
So I'd like you to give some thought to that, because it may be of better importance if you decide that you want to pursue the path right now. It might be a smarter idea right now to continue with a second half of sphere 1 that's more geared towards your visual art rather than the business, so that it coincides together with what you're trying to build for your own cohort at the lead. Or it may be smart for you to do this if you feel like you need to be financially successful and independent as a photographer in order for you to feel validated to teach and lead others. Then it might be smart for you to complete sphere 1 and focus on that, and then complete the path of the protege in sphere 2.
Yeah, it's not a validation thing so much as it's a goal that I set a couple of years ago, which I have determined that I need to, and I've set aside this summer and fall for getting the business going. That's the reason I've done things this way. So I'm committed to trying to get the business going, at least getting it started. I'm open to changing around the sphere 1. I'm still going to do what I'm doing this summer business-wise, one way or the other. And so I was going to use the sphere 1 to help me to figure some things out and use you as a resource. But I'm pretty sure I can call on some karma points to use you as a resource anyway. So,
you can, absolutely. And you have me in the path of the protege too, so you have time there, and we're doing hangouts there. So I'm totally fine with either. I think that the way that we built your sphere 1 is very beneficial to you as a photographer.
As do I.
I just want to make sure that trying to do sphere 1 and the path of the protege, because I really set the standards high for my cohort, much higher than they are in any other cohort as far as what everybody's doing for their sphere 1. Yeah. Like, it requires a lot from you guys. And I don't think it's more than you have to give, but it is a lot. So I just want to make sure that if we're trying to do both, that you're just keeping open communication with me, and that you're not getting overwhelmed on one side or both, or that one isn't falling to the wayside. Because I know what I see in you for potential, and I want to make sure that gets conveyed to the rest of your Vanguard. But I also want to make sure that we're not so focused on that we're taking away from your personal growth as an artist and as a business and where we want to see that go. So just some food for thought.
I'll tell you the one thing that concerns me most about Path of the Protege is that it states over and over in various contexts that the goal is to get it done in 2 or 3 months, to go from beginning to end. And I do not believe that I'll be able to do it in 2 or 3 months while accomplishing my other goals.
That, you know, we like to see that. And a lot of that has to do with time management, because we spend so much time with you guys. You know, like we do critique days. If I have a full critique day, I'm putting in like 8 to 12 hours with you guys, you know, and that's aside from building the sphere maps and checking in on the, like, it is a lot of time investment.
Yeah.
So we put that guide out there, because if you can't manage your own time in getting tasks done, how are you going to manage 20 other people? That's the mindset behind it. That said, the Path of the Protege is being built like literally 2 bricks in front of where you guys are stepping, and we're moving a lot of things around. So that's very liberally applied right now. I think once we streamline it and really get a good feeling going and kind of figure out what we're doing and get into a rhythm, then that will start to play in more, because a lot of it's feedbacking off of each other. So don't take that to heart. I'd rather you go slow and with purpose than with speed and recklessly. There's a lot of people going nowhere fast.
I would prefer to do that myself, and so that's why I mentioned it.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. Take your time and do it with purpose and intent. That's more important to me.
As I said, I don't want to move forward to ask for a meeting of a Vanguard until I believe I can do it with integrity. And that means, as you said, it means artistically, it means I need to be able to actually be in a position where I can be respected as a teacher in the Arcanum.
Great. Okay. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
I'm okay for now. I'm looking forward to the next 2 or 3 levels, and I'm thinking of combining them together to some extent.
Okay.
I've already started working on them, as I say.
Sounds good.
And I do hope to blast through 15, 16, 17, 18 fairly quickly.
Okay.
In the next month, couple of weeks. In fact, if I can, we'll see what happens.
All right.
So, so be ready for that.
Okay. Sounds good. Keep me posted and check in with me and let me know if you need any help along the way. Otherwise, I'll see you at level 19.
Thanks, Jess.
All right. I'll talk to you soon, love. Bye.